Welcome and good morning to Mike Ferry TV. It's the week of May 23rd. A couple of weeks ago, the first 2 days of May, we had in Huntington Beach, California, I think just right at about 200 broker owners for a 2-day management retreat. What we talked about was a lot of things, everything from how to recruit to how to build per person productivity. But what I impressed upon those managers the most was the absolute importance of committing themselves to each of you. I'm hoping if you're in one of the offices where they were at the retreat, you're starting to see that commitment. At the same time, I'm asking you to commit to coming to our July Superstar Retreat. Call our office and get signed up. Quit delaying, quit procrastinating, quit putting it off, get it done, okay? We're going to have our largest crowd in history at that retreat in July, and I want you to be there. All right, 2 weeks ago, we said the 4 essentials, okay? What do I say? What do I do? How do I strengthen my mindset and live with the success that I get as a result? And then last week, we covered, I don't know, was it 3 or 4 points, I guess, on supporting those essentials. And I want to go further today and talk to you about 3 or 4 more points that will force you into action. Because if you accept what I say, you're motivated, you're enthused, you're excited about telling your story, doing your job, getting out on the street, talking to people, and creating some success. So the next point in building the essentials and strengthening them is a hard one. And that is a commitment that you have to make, a commitment you have to make to your price and your commission. A commitment you have to make to your price and your commission. So I wrote down a couple thoughts here, and I want you to listen to them. Does the seller see the value in what you're saying and what you're going to do? See, is the seller setting the price? Is the seller telling you what the commission has to be? If they don't see value in what you're saying, they're going to, believe me, tell you what the commission should be. If a seller doesn't see great value in what you're saying and doing, they're going to price it here instead of here where it should be priced. Why? Because you haven't committed to a price and commission. Now, why does that take place? Generally speaking, we get a little desperate at times to get a transaction. We get a little desperate at times to actually go ahead and get some, traction or movement in our business. So we get a listing appointment, and all of a sudden, instead of going out and saying, you know what, I'm going to do my job at the highest level. I'm going to really perform for this seller. We go out and say, oh gosh, I hope I get the listing, I hope I get the listing, I hope I get the listing. We don't go in with the attitude is these sellers should be thrilled if I decide to take their listing. We go in with the attitude as, oh my gosh, I hope they give me the opportunity to take the listing. Well, when you're walking in hoping and praying to get a listing, guess who controls the price? They do. When you're walking in hoping to get a listing, guess who controls the commission? They do. Well, as soon as they control price and commission, you have lost control of the transaction to start. Does the seller see value in what you're saying and what you're going to do? If they don't see value, they raise the price. And if they don't see value, they lower the commission. I wrote down this thought. If they question your price, they don't believe in you and what you're saying. Isn't that interesting? If they question your price, they don't believe in you and what you're saying. Now, let's be honest. I mean, look around the business. Look around the city. Some cases, look around your office. Can you at times look at some of these agents and say, how in the world do they ever do a deal? How do they ever get a listing? I mean, we do these seminars all the time, and once in a while I look at some of the people in the audience and say to myself, boy, the seller must be desperate to have picked that agent. Or the 3 or 4 that showed up before that agent, they were even worse than that agent. Well, see, if they are questioning what you're saying and they're questioning what you're doing, they're going to control the price every time. See, watch, if they question your price, they don't believe in you. Remember, if you don't believe in you, the vote is unanimous every time. There's one person that has to believe in you, and that's you. See, I don't think there's any question. Everybody says, I'm the #1 real estate coach. I'm the #1 real estate trainer. We hear this all the time. My own son, Tom, advertises, I'm #1, I'm #1. Based on what? Based on who? Who made that decision? And the truth is, who made that decision is inconsequential because I know the person that made that decision. It isn't a matter of you saying you're number one. It's acting, it's believing, it's achieving, and it's doing what the top agent does. That's your job. Well, if they don't believe in that, if you don't show that strength, if you don't show that competence, if you don't show that absolute total belief, guess what? They question your price. And they do it every time. I wrote down this quote. If they question your commission, they don't see any value in what you do. Last week, we talked about value proposition. And it's such an interesting thing, the value proposition, that absolute ability to make a great presentation. I will tell you for a fact, there is nobody in real estate today that is stronger in the presentation of materials and how to sell real estate than the guy you're watching right now. Why do I say that? Because see, if I don't believe that, then you're going to go see all the rest of them. Oh no, a lot of you go see the rest of them anyhow because you don't want to be too strong and don't want to be too pushy. Wait a minute. The competition out there, although there are fewer and fewer good ones, those few good ones are getting better and better and better. If you can't develop some personal strength, guess what? They cut your commission every single time. If they question your commission, they don't see value in what you do. Isn't that an interesting thought? And one you really have to pay attention to. Second thought I want to give you today, and this is a hard one. At what point, because remember we said 4 essentials, living with success was number 4. At what point do you become overwhelmed with that success that you have, that success you're trying to achieve, that success you're trying to accomplish? At what point do you become overwhelmed? Overwhelmed. So I wrote down A, B, C, D, okay? How many good leads are too many? Now I know what you're going to say. You can't have too many good leads. Wait a minute. Most agents get 1 or 2 leads, they stop prospecting. We see it every day. What happened to your 2 leads? Oh, I thought they were good. They listed with somebody else. Well, how many do you have now? I don't have any. Why? Because your pipeline is not full because you chose to stop. And you chose to stop because you got a few good leads. I wrote down letter B. How many appointments are too many? Can you go on 1 appointment a week, 2 a week, 5 a week? Can you go on 8 or 10, 12 a month? If you're going on 1 appointment every 4, 5, 6 weeks, you're never going to be any good at a listing appointment because there's no rhythm, there's no pattern to what you're doing. Either you're going on appointments all the time or guess what? You're not any good. Folks, you're not any good. Get into that thought process. You're not any good. You don't have to be any good to show property. We talked about that a few weeks ago. But if you're going to ever become good at listing property, you have to have the repetition of going on appointments all the time. How many appointments are too many? I wrote down C. How many listings are too many? Can you carry 4, 5, 10, 20, 30, 50 listings? Of course you can. But you have to look at your point of overwhelm where you can't handle anymore. And then I wrote down the 4th one. You're going to love this. How many commission checks are too many before you're overwhelmed? What if you get 4 or 5 closings in the next 5 or 6 days? And each closing's $10,000. And all of a sudden you got $40,000 or $50,000 sitting in front of you. Holy smokes, some of you went out work again for the entire year. See you next January. Well, you got to look at this ability from a mental standpoint. Can you handle the overwhelm that takes place in real estate? The third point I want to give you guys and gals today in terms of the essentials of real estate is the advantages to becoming a great listing agent. So let's look at there's probably 100 advantages. But the 3 major advantages are, number 1, you control your time. You can't control your time in working with buyers. Don't kid yourself. You know it and I know it. You're a great listing agent, you control your time. I wrote down letter B, multiple transactions. You have 5 listings, could 3 sell on one weekend? Yes, happens all the time. What are the odds, and be honest, of selling 3 buyers on a Saturday? Impossible or worse, okay? But I wrote down third, advantage to become a great listing agent, stronger community recognition. And that is such a vital part of what we do, is having the recognition within the community, the fact that you are a good, solid, producing agent. Your signs and your sold signs tell the story. Neighbors talk. People chat all the time. And when they see a sign go up and a sold sign go up soon after, and they see the name Bob Smith and, Jose Riviera, they know that that person must be good, because look at how quickly that sign went up. So the advantages of doing everything we've said the last 3 weeks are enormous. I'm going to start covering more of these thoughts on the Essentials starting next week. See you next week.